This isn't your ordinary episode of Shop Talk, but it's going to be the male day today. The men. So any dudes out there, come on in, let's have a chat. All right, shout out to Wanda. All right, and I'm also simulcasting on TikTok live. So for all those TikTok people there, hey, what's up? Men, also get on in here. We'll have a conversation. Shout out to Wanda. What's up? All right. If you don't know what Shop Talk is, it was developed back in the day by three lovely ladies that had a shop. Was it a hair salon? A beauty shop?
And this is why women should be.
No, it was a natural. It was
my loctician hair shop.
Right.
Bree, the juice lady, who, as you all know, is focusing on new endeavors. She is currently in barber school, but she's a certified juicer as well as loctician.
And Wanda, fellow Gemini, also like a wonderful clothes designer. I had one of her pieces on yesterday. I should have worn that today. It's also black and gold.
Oh God.
And okay, what are you gonna say about Wanda?
And I am Dr. Nicole. So as always, we want to thank you for giving us some of your time. This is an unordinary streaming because I am currently in Miami. Woo, with the sun, having a good time. And as you know, the mission and whole purpose of Shop Talk is to provide healing, education, along with resources. As always, we do not proclaim to be sole proprietors and or professional experts over all of the content that we present to you. We just offer an open, organic, authentic dialogue to give different perspectives of what issues that are currently going on in your personal lives and or just overall society. And I don't think he introduced himself, Mr. 1906, but this is Dwain.
Yeah.
That is doing the Shop Talk takeover.
Yeah, and Shop Talk had a variety of topics. Thought today would be a good day to put in a male perspective on the conversation. So if you have any comments, feel free to put them in there and we'll add them to the discussion. So are you ready for the discussion for today? What the question of the day is?
And just so you all know, he's leading this. I have no idea. I just know he recently told me the topic is the gender conversation. So I don't even know what that entails, just to let you know how unscripted we are here with Shop Talk. But either way, I'm excited because you get realistic, real-time responses from me no matter what. So let's get into it.
Somebody invited to join. Did you invite them? No? Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, I don't know. I'm doing it. TikTok. People just jump in on TikTok.
Okay. So thank you as always to my TikTok family for your support. As always, our audience and viewers, your support is truly greatly appreciated, and without you, we could not continue to spread the message. Of course, when you tune in and you share it, we in general reach a larger audience base. So thank you. If you're sending invites to join, this is not a day that we're actually going to invite people to join because we're outside and we want to make sure we can hear you clearly and that any of the viewers can hear you clearly. But Dwain is sitting very close, so if you want to go ahead and put those questions in the comment section, we will most definitely respond to them as we're in this conversation. This conversation, I believe, is not going to be your typical 90 to 2 hour type conversation again because we're filming in Miami and we're filming outside.
All right. Is that a question already?
And see, that's another reason why we don't do it because your head is like all
Well, we just gotta have to do what it is. That's the man way. Just that's what the St. Kevin would say. Build it as you fly it, right? Build it as you fly it.
So I'll be kind to you. You're closer to mine. You
yes.
read my questions. I'm closer to yours. I'll read your questions.
Can you read that? What does that say?
Right now, it says we're streaming live. We're streaming video live.
At the bottom. Yeah, right.
Enterprise your videos to that's.
Oh, that's the instructions.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's
see
get
what I
to
mean,
the.
y'all?
Let's get to the
Unscripted.
topic. Get to the topic. All right. So you ready for the question?
I stay ready, so I don't have to get ready.
All right. Who's swiping? What is that?
Don't worry about it.
Oh wow!
It's just telling you can change the lighting.
It looks like somebody trying to get in there.
No.
All right. Question. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Are you ready? You're leading the discussion. Like, I have no autonomy. I'm just the one that's responding.
All right. Well, do black women have it easier in the U.S.?
That's such a general yet broad question. And what category? If you're a bunny? No, I want you to be specific.
It doesn't have to be. I don't want to limit your thoughts. Whatever that means to you or the audience out there.
Okay, so I'll repeat the question before I respond. Do women of color, you gotta be, because they'll close you out real
That's
quick.
fine, that's fine.
Do women of color in the USA have it easier than men of color? My initial response in the US. My response is that's such a general yet broad question. So as it pertains to, let's go with the work environment, to some degree, yes, women of color do have it easier, but I first want to say this, although we have it a little bit easier for reasons I'll explain in a moment, we do not get the same financial worth that men of color do in the workplace. And I know that personally by going through it currently. However, organizations or companies are more likely to hire a woman of color versus that of a man of color. One, we're not seen as so much of a threat. A lot of organizations see men of color as overly masculine, and y'all are seen as being violent and just an overall threat. And y'all are. That's just the truth of the matter, and people don't like to acknowledge that. Men of color don't like to acknowledge that. Do I agree with that all the time, that y'all are overly aggressive and violent? Absolutely not, because we could say the same thing about men from other, cultures. As it pertains to in other areas, no, women of color do not. Women of color are the most disrespected, unprotected, and unappreciated. So outside of the workplace and within the workplace, we do not have it that easier because we're unprotected.
Hold that thought for a second. There was a brother that was trying to get in. Type your message in, because we won't be able to put people on live right now because I don't think we can hear you clearly the way that the cameras are set in. But if you type in your comments, I can read them out for the rest of the folks to hear. So I saw there was a brother in there. We need some male participation, so put a 1 in the chat if you are male. Number 1 in the chat.
See, why the male get the go for it? But I'm fine with it. So again, if you didn't hear what he said, if you are a male tuning in on his live or my live, please put the number 1 because we want to acknowledge you. Yeah. If you are female, please put the number 2 in there. If you don't want to subscribe to either one of those genders, and I'm not even being funny, I'm trying to be very inclusive.
It's a lot of male participation
and respectful. Put the number 3. So 1 for male, 2 for female, 3 for non-subscribing to a particular gender.
Yeah, I saw Pharaoh in there, I saw King. Wow, some powerful, mighty brothers out here. So put in your comments as the conversation goes if you have a point. So not to disregard the point that you made. So you're saying that, like, as far as pay equity in the workplace, like women of color have like a vast disparity. That's what you're saying. But outside of that, in the larger I won't say ethos, but in the larger society, it's easier per se.
No, see, I knew you were going to do that. Men always try to twist women's words. Systemically, women of color, because we want to make sure our audience know that your question was specifically addressing my thoughts, feelings, or view on how easy versus not easy that women of color have it. And it wasn't any particular category that you asked me to address, so I just kind of like tried to address them all. But systemically, the assumption is that women of color have it easier, and that could not be further from the truth.
Okay. Yeah, I tend to agree with you. The last stats that I saw in the, I guess, the workplaces, like women of color are at the bottom as far as the pay scale goes. But I would like to know, like, if it was like in the current, the current census that took place some months ago, like where that is now, because women of color, in my personal belief, dominate the workplace at every field. Like, we even have a woman of color as the vice president of the United States. So if that tells you something, like on down at every level, government, military, finance, banking, food, even down to the retail restaurant field, they're all women of color there at every field, whether it's the frontline worker, middle management, all the way up to executives are all women of color. So it would be hard for me to kind of understand, like, how, if at every level there is a woman of color, how is it that today and currently the pay scale is off? Because you would think that those women of color would kind of bond together, ask for those promotions, ask for those raises, ask for those higher paying positions. And even it goes further than that. Like, if you are a woman of color in particular positions, I'll just speak for government, which I kind of know of a little bit better than corporate America, but like at a particular level, like maybe GS 13, 14, and 15, they can create positions, or they can also create a particular pay scale for those other women of color who are a little bit lower to get into those positions. So government tends to mirror corporations and vice versa. So how is it that those pay gaps are so wide with their white male or white female counterparts?
But are you implying that, I want to word it right, are you implying that if women of color had more unity, that at any employment level, whether it's private sector or public sector, that we would be more likely, or that particular business would be more likely to give us those promotions and raises? Is that, are you
I could say, yeah. I mean, if there was there was a mechanism in place where, you know, there were programs. Well, let's just not even take it as far as like.
But no, I want you to add
let's say
that.
programs. Like
Yes or no? Is that what you imply?
Well, like unity kind of implies that it's like outside of the system of the corporation or the workplace, you know.
Okay.
But let's just say like unity in terms of, once again, those women of color that are in the higher echelon where they can create programs for entry into those positions. Let's say that, like trainings. Also education programs and things like that. Even those. Let's just say unity in that form.
So let me just speak, and I can't mention a name. Where I work at, we have all that, and I'm very proud to say that my entire leadership team at my home base site is all educated women of color, and we all hold various degrees and certifications. And for those who are new to following me, my highest level of education is PhD. I currently oversee 3 different off-site programs within my organization, and I take on a vast of other additional tasks because we're currently working with a skeleton crew because the particular organization say there's no money available to offer a livable wage to onboard people. However, we also see the constant building, unnecessary building, because you're building spaces to have these jobs available, but no one wants to work for you for various reasons. And one can assume, or we can go with the facts, you know, of employee retention and factual findings, but I digress from that. So my whole point is, we have these, and being a leader myself, one of the things I do with my employees is that I'm constantly doing individual supervision, and I see their strong points, so I'm having these open dialogues with them, and I supervise both male and female persons of color and non-persons of color, and they do have the ambition, but they lack the motivation. So sometimes, I want to be fair to the organizations, sometimes people just aren't ready, and that's okay as well, if you know, if they're not ready to actually advance in his or her own career or his or her own life. I don't think it's necessarily fair or accurate to place that accountability on women of color. Now, do I feel that there should be more unity amongst us? Absolutely, but historically and on various issues, women are very catty, and there's no excuse for that, you know. And then there's the crabs in the barrel syndrome, you know, which is very, very sad, especially when we're looking at what all is going on in the world today. But to firmly put that responsibility on women and women of color, see, that's why we didn't invite people in. You hear the airplane going over. I don't think that's a fair assessment. People have to want to do the work. People have to show up and be present. I just wanted to respond to that.
Yeah. What kind of caught my ear was the whole idea that we don't have money. That's the same thing that I hear in my organization as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess even if you do have those programs and stuff like that, they can easily, you know, I guess justify closing those programs and not putting as much attention on those programs under the guise of, we just don't have the funding. So I guess maybe that's what's happening then. But even still, you know, those women of color who are even higher up that have the purse strings, weren't they like holding it open for those programs and stuff?
But again, if you're just tuning in, Dwain is doing the Shop Talk Takeover, and I actually like his chosen topic. The topic is the gender conversations, with the question of, do women of color in the U.S. have it easier, his bunny ears, than men or men of color. And my response is, in some areas, only within the area of the workplace and people feeling safe, because they don't see women of color as a threat as much as they do as men of color. So if you're just tuning in, if you're a guy and you're tuned in, please put a 1 in the comment section. If you're a female and just tuning in or been with us, put a 2 in the comment section. If you're opting not to choose a particular gender, which is totally fine, put a 3. We just want to acknowledge you, because this conversation is one that has been had for decades, and we need to continue to have it. Through conversation comes a plan of action. And again, the whole mission and purpose of Shop Talk is to provide healing and resources and change the lens in which we are looking through at life in general.
Something else you had just mentioned that kind of sparked a thought about why I believe a lot of black women or women of color are in every facet of the workplace, every form of work. I guess maybe with the exception of maybe construction or stuff, at least as far as manual labor, that kind of stuff. But I'm pretty sure there are women of color in those kind of sprinkled in, but like largely more so in the other facets of the workplace. So this is what I thought about when you had said that women of color are less of a threat, but I think that a lot of employers want to have women of color in the workplace because I believe people like to be around women of color, like to be in their presence.
Oh, that's cool.
This was something I saw posted on social media. I'm not sure if it was TikTok or Facebook or Instagram, but there was this sister, this woman of color on a plane, and there wasn't a lot of people on that flight, so she was filming it, and so she panned the camera, and there was a guy, like maybe even a whole family, like across the rows, and she was like, you could pick all these other seats that you gotta, pick sitting next to me. And I was thinking, like people just love to be around women of color, like in close proximity. I don't know if you or other women of color have experienced that, but
yeah. So that's so funny that you mentioned that, because I was fussing about it earlier on our way here to do the show. Some of it, a good portion of it, is just rudeness. Prime example today, so I was doing a TikTok dance outside, just minding my business. So much space. So many parking spaces where this car could have just went and parked. The car literally see me filming this video, and of course I'm filming in a space where I can catch the lighting because I'm outdoors. And the car purposely, instead of pulling into any one of the 10 or 15 available parking spots, stops right there at the back of the vehicle where I'm filming at and blocks the lighting. So much so, they literally looked at me, I looked at them, and I just stopped the video and changed my location. Then the person pulls right into the parking spot they could have pulled into initially.
I've seen that. When you there was a trend on TikTok of last year, I think, where it's these women of color were showing the behind the scenes when they make their content in public, and how many people come in and stop them or interrupt their content where they're filming, or touch them or try to dance with them, all that kind of stuff. And it was, I forget what they called it. It was black girls doing their thing, or something like that.
Yeah, people are, and if anyone is familiar with the Black Girl Follow train, that was another one where YT women were centering themselves, and even some YT men inserted themselves. Women of color always try to create a space for ourselves. One, we don't want to be bothered unless we want to be bothered, and we don't want to bother anyone. So again, in regards to me filming the video outside, I purposely found a secluded spot where I wasn't invading anyone else's space. There was no chance that I was blocking anyone, you know, because it was outside of a school. People were going in and out of the school. I'm by a vehicle. No one else could even park on one side of the vehicle. I'm at the back of the vehicle, which is why I knew it was intentional what this vehicle did. They were so close to the back of the vehicle. And a lot of times that's, you know, we have this stigma about women of color that we're angry, we're mean, we're rude. And I think people do that stuff to try and trigger a response from women of color. That's why I promote emotional awareness and emotional control, because if you cannot control your emotions, they will surely control you. But then, you know, women of color is a whole vibe. You know, we are definitely a whole vibe. We're definitely trendsetters. It'll start out where people are gossiping and talking very distastefully about us, but then the very things that we as women of color do, they lock on and they like, hey, this, you know, this is unique. This is really dope. Even so much so, and I'm gonna say it, you know, I'm not throwing a rock and hiding my hand, but if it hit, duh. You have men out there that do it. You don't like women. You don't like us. You call us all these disrespectful names, but you mimic everything we do, from body structure, heels, dress, hair, makeup, body movement, from the switching. Like, we a whole vibe. So shout out to us. We have our bad parts like any other culture of women and people in general, but women of color, we're a vibe.
Well, I'll definitely bring it around, because that's not coming from a black male perspective. That's not. We don't experience the same thing. For us, it's the opposite. Like, if people move, like get out of our way, or are, I think, really intimidated. You know, like the whole. I think every black male has had the experience of getting on the elevator with someone, a non-color, particularly female, and they clutch their purse, or they may take the other elevator when they see you already in there. And I think it goes further, and also in the workplace. I don't think when we have those interviews, because I'll just put it out there from those that may not know that once you have the interview, that means you are appropriate for that company, because on paper you fit. If you get called for an interview, you fit. What they do when they're calling you for interviews, they want to see you, see if you're the person that's on that paper. They want to see if your behavior, your mannerisms, who you are, how you look, even fits the mission and the vision of the company that you're applying for, right? So I'll just say that. So if you are a brother that you know have come to the interview and they see on paper like, oh, this person fits, but then they're intimidated, like just by you, then you may not get called back from the job. Whereas, you know, you have a woman of color who you've already seen that people love to be around women of color. They're intrigued by them. She has the job, right? So this is why I kind of created that question: is it easier in the U.S. for women of color? That's just kind of some of the things that, you know, I wanted to bring up and to bring it around full circle as far as the workplace is concerned. But I'll go back to women of color in the workplace, it seems like they want you there in the environment, but they don't want to pay you for that. They don't want to give you your value. I guess beyond just aesthetically. And I guess it sounds like I'm building a argument that the women that are in the workplace now are just there to aesthetically just to make it. But I do know that that women of color do have skills and education and stuff like that to bring value into organization. But I do think a larger piece is that non-threatening environment, welcoming environment, looks good, smells good, all of that stuff. So they want them to be employed there and not pay them for it.
And let me just put this disclaimer out there, because we here at Shop Talk, we like to be clear when we're discussing open a dialogue information. None of the views are confirmed views. This is just an open, honest discussion from our individual or jointly experiences, but it's real. A lot of times we get very off hands, but we complain behind the scene, and I'm like, no change comes from standing on your soapbox but not doing anything. So when we decide to go live and have these challenging, difficult, undesired, taboo type conversations, it is to let you know that you're not crazy. You're not the only one that's experiencing it. You're not the only one that feels some type of way about it. However, to give you a different lens of looking through it. So again, we are live streaming from beautiful sunny Miami, and this is the Shop Talk Takeover with Dwain. The discussion is gender conversation, and the question is, do women of color in the U.S. have it easier than men of color? So I want to also put a disclaimer out there to all of my women of color. In no way am I myself or Dwain, and I know I can speak for him when I say this, saying that you're not skilled enough, intellectual enough, or capable enough to do any job. I mean, we look at our ancestors that didn't have any schooling or beyond a 4th grade education. They did carpentry and a whole slew of other skills, so much so they were teaching other people how to do things like perform transplant heart surgery and so on. So it really goes without saying. However, they jobs, realistically, if we are real and speaking very candid with one another, they are more likely, if I enter the interview and he enters the interview, they're more likely to hire me. One, they'll hire me because they know they'll get the same level of work and more from me, and because I don't want to fit that nasty stereotype and stigma of women of color being argumentative, ratchet, unruly, lazy, and so on, I won't complain, and I don't complain with, and I'm speaking here and now, because there are days, that I'm very stressed out or whatever, but I talk to my healthy support system, and they give me different perspectives on how to still exist in that culture and not succumb to it and not let it overwhelm me and stress me out. So again, my response to that question is, while we are more likely to be offered the job, it is not easier for women of color. I stand firmly on the fact that women of color, since the beginning of time, are the most disrespected, unprotected, undervalued out of all the group of females. We just are. And I believe we will continue to be so until we all have some healing that take place.
And for those that are in TikTok, I see there's some activity going on there. We're not able to put you on the live along with us because the way that the camera is set up, we won't be able to hear what the other people online are saying. But if you want to type in your comment, you're welcome to do that. We'll read it out and discuss the the comment from there. So if you could do that, that's fine.
If you're male, place 1 in the comment section. If you're female, you're going to place the number 2 in the comment section. If you are opting not to identify with either one of those genders, put a 3. We just want to acknowledge you. And I guess we're both nerds, geeks, and just curious by nature. We kind of want to see who all is out there. Good morning.
Good morning.
We just kind of want to see who all is out there, how you're feeling, and if this has been your experience. Most of you that's been following me, you know, either way I'm going to do the playback. So even if I can't see your questions now, you can always, in comments, you can always email them to 123shoptalk@gmail.com. Again, that's 123shoptalk@gmail.com, or you can send them to me directly, and myself, Dwain, or my co-host Wanda Reed, who's not here, miss you girl, we will definitely address them then. So I wanna kind of switch gears, but sticking with the gender conversation. So we've talked about whether or not women of color have it easier, and I want to stick with that. But let's talk about specifically in the relationship and dating realm. And when I say relationship, I don't just mean a relationship between a man and a woman. I'm talking about as a daughter, as a friend, as a mentor.
So the question is, do women of color have it easier even in that realm?
Yes.
I would say yeah. I think there's a lot of, once again, attention, interest, maybe even obsession with women of color, yeah, in the relationship format. Like, we won't even go into romantic. Let's just say, like, in the involved, let's say, friendships, and even let's say family relationships. Like, I know a lot of women of color that I know, like, have people who are very involved in their lives. Like, their friends get super involved in their lives. You know, whether they, you know, insert themselves in personal matters. Or
someone said, is that a personal perspective for yourself? Good question. Thank you.
Well, yeah. I don't have a lot of statistics like right in front of me right now because I'm using my other phone for TikTok. But I could look up those statistics for you beforehand. But all of the stuff that I'll discuss today is like Dwainisms, apparently, like anecdotal stuff. So, like, my view is that women of color have it easier in the relationship category as well too, because a lot of times there is more interest. Like, a lot of people don't care what men are doing. Just look at social media. Like, how anytime there's a topic about women of color, you know, you see hundreds of people in there.
Listen, I see my lady. Listen, I love y'all on TikTok. Somebody, which one of y'all shared this video? Because I'm looking at my ladies joining in right after that question.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But continue.
Yeah.
They gonna get you.
But no. But it is. There's a lot of interest in what women of color are doing, how they do it, when they do it, with who. You know, and I'm not even talking about romantic. I'm talking about just day-to-day stuff. You know?
So I want to jump in there real quick. So when you say we have it easy, before I get there, let me pause. Let me real quick put this disclaimer out there about statistics. First of all, the statistics, Census Bureau period, is backed up. Most of the statistics that we see are inaccurate. And someone that do statistical work and partially data analyst type work, those numbers can be those numbers are manipulated to match the narrative and the hypothesis and or gender in which they're specifically targeting. So I need everybody to know that. So I know we, you know, and I'm a fan of, may he rest in peace, Kevin Samuels. I know I'm gonna catch some flack from my ladies about that. Y'all know I love me some Kevin Samuels, but I loved him because he would always go to statistics, even when talking to the derailed men. However, that annoyed me because those statistics are so outdated. But now back to what you said, and I'll start with the relationship of family. Even when we are growing up, being raised, the daughters have to learn how to cook, we have to learn how to clean, we are naturally taught the importance of catering to the male as we get older, while the boys get to go outside, you know, flip on a mattress, you know, and do boy things. Like young girls, and I'm so serious when I say this, I've said it in previous shows, that our elders got it wrong. They did the best they could, but they got it wrong. Both the female and the male should have been in a house learning how to do all of these things, and then there would be no need for a woman to need a man to do it, or a man to need a woman to do it. But how unfair, because you robbed that little girl of her childhood because you have her watching the kids while you're obviously out there working, especially if it's a single parent household. And then if you get tired or you refuse to do so, you are shamed for that, as if you're not tired and you're not burned out. No one ever does that to the boy. No one ever says to even the adult male that you're wrong for not wanting to do this. But the female, if she can't show up, and these are things that I've experienced, if you can't show up or you make a decision to not show up because you just want to do something for yourself, statement. I'm sorry, someone.
Yes, we teach all our children to clean inside and out. We work as a team, not one gender does all.
And that is, thank you for sharing it. That's how it should be, but realistically, in the brown people culture, majority, that is not how it is. I know for me, that is not how it was. And even far as today, I literally left a hospital bed after being sick and trying to follow doctor's instructions and show up. Either it's the job, my employees, or people that I care about and are supposed to care about me still have this expectation. There was this one time when I was like, I really don't feel like it. My body is just going off of memory. I really need to rest. The person literally chose not to hear what I was saying and said, well, I'll come and get you. You don't have to drive and I'll take you back. Versus a male said the same thing. They just was like, I don't want to go. And it was like, oh, okay. So even in the realm of family relationship, the dynamics, and I'm wondering if that's more of a culture type thing. The lack of regard and respect for the brown woman is just not there. I'm not saying it's not there at all. I'm saying more, less than so, it is not there. In the realm of more intimate relationships between a man and a woman, we see, so we're on social media, we're out day-to-day life, we see it's not so now, so much so the disrespect has just spiraled out of control. There's this expectation that, you know, black women are too masculine. And it's not that we're masculine, but if you have a woman that does not have a strong support system, one that provides for her day-to-day living, or what have you, see another airplane, then what is she left to do? She's left to have to provide for herself, and so she has to take on being both roles of dominance. We see where men are being very brutally violent towards women. Yes, all women, but primarily women of color. We see this. So what is she to do if no one's coming to her rescue and protecting her? So I disagree with that based off of factually what we see and in the news. And just to talk about realistically, just recently, not even 30 days ago, there was a around 14-year-old that a 25-year-old man beat her within an inch of her life. So much so, she is still currently in a hospital on life support. You know, so you take a situation like that, and you know, and people love to not pay attention to the issues at hand. They love to just say, well, you don't know if she got smart. Well, let's just say hypothetically she was being rude. That's still a child, and you are a grown man, and you beat this young lady to the point where you cracked her skull and she's on a life support. So, no. And mind you, she was working in a drive-thru. He came through the drive-thru, got pulled around, got his food, got out of his car with other friends in the car, males, that opted not to protect this child of color and walked into this fast food restaurant and accosted her like that. That to me, there's no excuse. So when you see it like that, you really can't argue it.
We're probably have to shut down in a few minutes. It's probably a bit loud. But that's a great point. I guess, you know, there are certain aspects where women of color have it easier. That's why I put up air quotes. Easier is how you look at it, right? And then there are certain aspects where it's not most advantageous.
I have another question.
Okay, we have a question that says, we have those same issues in New Zealand. I don't know if Morai are close. Oh, a class that's colored, but we have similar issues. Oh yeah. All of our Polynesian people in the Pacific Islanders, absolutely. You're in the family, absolutely. POC, people of color. But that's really interesting.
Yeah.
And that's kind of why I classed in the U.S. because I know we have folks that are watching internationally, and I don't have a lot of experience outside of the U.S. So I welcome any input from outside of the U.S. as well too. But it's good to know that we have outside opinions on that. So I don't know. I think we should maybe start wrapping it up.
Y'all see how I let him pick the topic, and he had a loss for words.
Well, we could go on forever on that topic, but you know,
You had
kind of have.
comment.
Oh, okay. It just says become a #1 member of the team. Oh, she became a #1 member of the team. Live Cream with the Co. Awesome. Welcome to the team. Welcome to the team. But we could always, you know, do this topic a little bit later, even like on TikTok or something.
Yeah, I think this topic is definitely, it's definitely gonna be revisited.
Mm-hmm.
I know you probably won't be with us unless we live stream and we but definitely myself and my co-host Wanda Reed will be having this discussion again, because change has to start somewhere. And I know people seem to think, well, what is a discussion going to do? A discussion is going to allow us to see just how many people are operating in a scarcity mindset, because we a lot of times, unless you're participating in discussions, you don't know what's out there for you to know. And knowledge is only power when it's shared with you, you accept it, and then you activate it with a plan of action.
Yeah.
So we're definitely, please stay connected, because the ladies of Shop Talk will definitely be revisiting this So today, again, convo, which is presented from my lovely guest co-host. Oh, let me not say lovely. My handsome, my handsome guest co-host, Dwain from the beautiful Miami area, is gender conversations, and the question was, do women of color in the U.S. have it easier than men of color? My response will still say no, but before we sign off, I want to say neither of us have it easier, but when you start to compartmentalize things and make it very specific, which is nothing wrong with that because you did the shop talk takeover, then I have to choose a side. This was one of them topics where I have to choose a side, but I'm always going to be fair and I'm always going to be authentic. So again, as always, any of the views and information shared here is from individuals or jointly perspectives and personal experiences. That's where all our topics are derived from. We don't just reach in the sky and just pull them. You see, we don't agree with a lot of things, which makes it very unscripted. We hope you get or receive something out of it. There will be a replay and a recap. So if you didn't catch the full show from beginning to end now, please know that you can click on later. I'll share the YouTube link and you can watch it then and still present your questions to 123 Shop Talk.